On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks fall in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. How is this series going to be different than Phoenix and Utah for the Dallas Mavericks? What happened to Luka Doncic in this game? We'll tell you all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs. Let's go.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day, even after a loss. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube, where the best way that you can help us grow is comment below. Comment. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let it all out. What was your biggest frustration from Game 1? Let us know in the comments below. And joining me in the Bay, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com, the Bay Boy, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Some would say Bay Watch. No, one, it's super cool that we're actually here in the Bay. We posted on Twitter today a picture of us here in San Francisco. We know a lot of people in Slovenia and overseas and stuff watch our show. And we made the trip.
We did.
We left Dallas early. It's been a long day. We left Dallas early this morning and got here to the Bay, got some grub, checked in a hotel.
And somehow we had more energy than the Mavericks did in the fourth quarter.
Somehow we did. And but no, it was cool to cover the Mavs on the road and just hang out pregame and talk to a lot of people, including some Mavs fans in the building.
Yeah, sure.
Shout out to some MFFLs. But man, obviously it wasn't a result that we all wanted, but it's not the end of the world either. I'm not walking out tonight saying this series is over.
Yeah, no, there are reasons for optimism. We'll explain to you what those are. But first, today, we have to talk about how is this going to be different? How is it different? How has it been different? How is Game 1 different than what the Phoenix Suns did or what the Utah Jazz did? And it kind of starts with, all right, let's go. This is a real team, right? Like, this is a real team that's not going to beat themselves in the same way that the Utah Jazz did or the same way that the Phoenix Suns just collapsed. I don't see that from this Warriors team. They got three guys that have been there before, have won before. There was, we walk around the Chase Center and there's all this marketing and all this stuff. Their whole thing, like the Mavericks thing is Dallas in, like all in, like all the capitalize the ALL and the in, it's Dallas all in, like that. That's their whole thing, is being all in. The Warriors' whole thing is gold-blooded.
Yeah.
They've been there before. They have championships. You walk around the arena. What was that phrase? Welcome to the Chase Center, home of the 6-time world champion Golden State Warriors. Right? Like,
I feel like I was on Star Trek.
I know. They repeated that over and over again. This team has been here before. This team knows how to play defense the way that a championship level team needs to, and the Suns did not. The Jazz absolutely did not. This is a different level.
Yeah, we did a quick postcast after the game, a good 20 minutes. Just
on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube thing. It was just live Q&A, just random thoughts right after the game. But I said this on there, we were walking around just seeing, this new Chase Center. It's a newer arena. It's super nice. It's unbelievable. Obviously the Bay is beautiful. But I walked into the gift store, and the gift shop there is crazy, too. But, they had this little section, and it was Steph, Dre, and Clay, merchandise, like shirts and hoodies and stuff. And it was 10 years of Steph. And it was just this simple reminder of holy crap, they've been together for 10 freaking years.
No one's been on the Mavericks for 10 years.
Yeah, and it's just insane to think about. We obviously know it because we all been watching the NBA and watching those teams. But it's just another reminder that this team's different than Phoenix. Chris Paul's resume in the playoffs isn't great. That young Phoenix team went to the finals, but that's basically all they have. So it's just a completely different, we came out of the Phoenix series saying, hey, we just beat the 64-win number 1 seed in the Western Conference. We can beat anybody.
Which is still true.
Still true. I still believe it. But I think we underestimate a little bit the veteran, the experience of this Warriors team, because we also saw them against Memphis and losing by 50, and they haven't looked like their full self. So it's a combination tonight of saying, hey, the Warriors did what 10 years of Steph, Dre, and Clay should do in a first game of a Western Conference playoffs, but while also saying, man, the Mavericks missed a ton of shots that they have been hitting. So it's a combination of both.
Well, and there's lots of reasons for optimism. We'll get into it a little bit. But this game coming into this, this Warriors team is going to be different. They defended differently. They showed so many different defensive looks. And honestly, like the way that I saw a lot of people, a lot of smart people talking about this on Twitter is that just the crazy different amount of looks that they showed. That they showed, they showed hedging and recovering. They showed dropping. They showed like a box and one. They showed zone at times. They just showed so many different ways that it honestly felt like they were like, okay, let's just confuse the Mavericks. Let's confuse Luka, and let's try to make sure that he can't figure us out, right? Whether we get beat on one of these coverages, we're just going to try to keep throwing a bunch of different looks so that he can't beat us by himself. Now, they still got the open threes, but Luka didn't beat the Warriors himself.
Yeah, I think a lot of you guys probably too, all the national podcasts now are about these two series. It's only two series left.
Yeah.
So just listen to some, national guys, which is kind of funny because it's almost like draft coverage that people swoop in.
Parachute.
They parachute in right before the draft, and then it's like, hey, I'm an expert in the draft. And it's like, actually, there's people that's been covering the draft all year.
Stay tuned for when we do that in like two
Hey,
like a
we
month.
will pull the cord and parachute in. But it's been that way with like the Mavs too, of some national people. It's like, hey, they watched some highlight clips on YouTube of the Mavs, and now they're given the blueprint for how to stop Luka.
Yeah, right.
And so that part's been funny, but it feels like an overarching theme. And even like I was thinking the same thing too, of hey, Dallas will have some struggles with Golden State, but what they won't struggle with is Luka's going to average like 35 to 40 in this series because Golden State doesn't have an answer for Luka. And tonight, yes, Luka had a bad game. Yes, he made some bad decisions on things. So a lot, like some of it's on him for how this night unfolded for his performance. Yep. But I thought Golden State did his like best job you could do as far as confusing it, bringing different. Like you were saying, I mean, even with like Looney, they were changing things up. They were dropping Looney at times. They were hedging Looney at times. They were trapping with Looney at times. They were just they went to box and one at time. They had zone one time. They had a matchup zone. They did so many different things defensively that it was almost like it was like a wheel at like a carnival that you just like, hey, let's just spin this sucker and we're running zone this time. Zone, let's go. And it's like that's what it felt like. And it was a great game plan by Steve Kerr.
Yeah, it was. And one of the things, you mentioned Kevon Looney, one of the things that changes for this Warriors team that's different from the Jazz and the Suns, the last two rounds, the Mavericks have played these big, like, centers that move their feet decently well, Gobert and Ayton do, but Looney's on a different level because Looney came in as like a small forward at times when he was coming up in draft circles. And so what the Warriors have is they don't have that big lumbering center in the middle that they depend on as a rim protector. And so the Mavericks have gotten used to attacking a guy like that, negating a guy like that, showing how they can beat a guy like that the last two rounds. And so they've gotten this kind of muscle memory of, all right, we're going to do this, and then they won't pass it inside because they don't trust Ayton, they don't trust Gobert to finish around the rim. The Warriors don't do stuff like that. They're not just running pick and rolls. They're not just running stuff where they're like, okay, let's see if we can get this action going with one guy or two guys at once and see if it works that way. Like, they just don't do that. They run all kinds of stuff. They run cuts from behind. Like, the Mavericks are going to have to change how they do their defense or change how they do their offense because the Warriors defense is good. We talked about when we previewed the series that this Warriors team has a really good defense, and it's going to be a test. Draymond was doing a lot out there, and he's going to continue to do a lot. So that's how this series is different. The team's experience, and this is a point I made on the postcast. I'll make it again. This Warriors team should win this series. They're favored. They have the experience. They have the three of the four best players in the series, right? If you want to go that far, and if Andrew Wiggins is going to play like that, maybe four of the best six, four of the best five. It feels like at times. And so this Warriors team should win this series. Now, do we believe that the Mavericks can? Like,
We believe. Yes, sir.
Like, do you believe the Mavericks can win this? Yes, but they're going to have to do it in a different way. They're out talented. right? The Warriors have way more talent. They have 3 Hall of Famers on their team. They have Wiggins, who's a number 1 pick that at times has shown to be what he did tonight. He played a great game. The Mavericks were like, hey, we'll let Andrew Wiggins beat us. Well, guess what? Andrew Wiggins did beat him at times. He shot 8 of 17. He had 19 points in this game. I think people will make a huge deal about his 19 points, but it was only 19 points as well. It's not like he went off for 30, 35 or anything like that. But he chipped in, and they got contributions from every single player on the roster. Poole is a guy that some people say, well, who's better, Brunson or Poole? That's like a thing people will do, right? I think Mavs fans may think that's ridiculous. I'm not sure how ridiculous it is. They have Otto Porter, who's like a number 3 overall pick. He's a talented player. Now, some of these guys haven't had the best spots and haven't had the best fits in their career on different teams, but they've come to this Warriors team and they're all using these skills and all these talents and it all comes together. And so far, obviously in this game it worked, and it's gotten them to the Western Conference Finals and got them past the Mavs in Game 1. So that's context that we have to think about with this series.
Collectively, the collective game of Andrew Wiggins tonight was really impressive, and
sure, yeah,
that was what kind of surprised me a little bit. Of it was, he had 19 points, but he was on Luka tonight. Like, he had the Luka assignment.
Yeah,
and, for him to pick up Luka the entire court, most of the game, and spell a lot of Luka's minutes and put a lot of energy into that. I just thought he defended him really well. I think we just saw a series with Mikal Bridges that Luka just, ate his lunch.
He figured him out, right? Like, he figured out how to play him. With Andrew Wiggins, I think he will too, right? Like Luka. Yeah. We believe in Luka that he's that smart and that he'll figure it out. But coming up, let's talk about what Luka can do. How did Luka play in this game? Why was Luka limited the way that he was? Why did it seem like at the end of certain times Luka was frustrated, and where did that lead the Mavericks? Talk about that coming up. But before we do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a scam that's out to get you, Isaac. They're coming for you. They're coming for your money. Truebill is a new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want, need, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 a year.
Wow.
They save that with Truebill. It's a concierge service that will cancel your bills for you. They'll cancel the subscriptions that make it incredibly simple for you. You just link your accounts with Truebill and they'll cancel it right there. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. It could save you thousands of dollars a year on those bills that they try to get you. Go check it out. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Also, want to tell you about Built Bar. Took some Built Bars with me on the trip. The Brownie Batter Puffs are back. I ordered 2 boxes already. We talked to the CEO, Nick, the other day, and he said, "Hey, we're pushing the Brownie Batter Puffs."
Not this Nick.
We're like, "Hey, no, the CEO of Built Bar." He spoke to all the Locked On hosts and said, "Hey, we're pushing this Brownie Batter Puff," and I agree with him. It's delicious. It's an incredible. I think it's better than the coconut brownie chunk.
Blasphemy.
That's a hot take, but I'm feeling it. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, get 15% off your order of the Brownie Batter Puffs. It's protein bars. It tastes like candy bars. They're delicious. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, 7 grams of sugar. Again, promo code LOCKED15, the number 15, to get 15% off your entire order at Built.com. All right, Isaac Harris, we've been talking about the Mavericks, and we've been talking about how the Suns and Jazz are different than this Warriors team. But Luka really struggled in this game. Luka did not have one of his best games. Luka did not come out like, hey, I'm firing on all cylinders. And there's a bunch of different reasons for that. But Luka finished in this game 20 points, 7 boards, only 4 assists. He had 7 turnovers. He only scored 2 points in the second half. Just didn't have it. What do you think was the biggest problem with Luka tonight?
I think a little bit of it is what we alluded to in the first segment. Is they mucked it up. Like we used that.
They did the same thing the Mavericks tried to do to players.
Yeah, we used that same phrase, in the Phoenix series, stealing from Iztok's piece of that phrase. But they brought so many different looks that I think that's they don't have an individual defender. Like if we just did a one-on-one out there, Andrew Wiggins versus Luka Doncic, he's going to win that thing. Maybe not 10 out of 10 times, maybe at least 9 out of 10 times. Probably 10 out of 10 times. But
basketball is not one-on-one.
But it's like they just changed up so many things that's the route they took, and I thought it. Like, he picked him up full court the whole time. They just made things difficult for him. And I think that's the biggest question going into game 2. We know Jason Kidd's going to make adjustments. Yep. He has proven that this playoffs, that they go to the drawing boards like, all right, game 1 of the first 2 series, Utah and Phoenix, they lost. We walked out of game 2 of Phoenix like, holy crap, is this series done? Like, Luka was getting embarrassed.
True.
It was a moment we talked about on the pod. A bunch of you guys hated on us because we were pretty honest about Luka after that game 2. And they went out and won the series in 7 games. So we're not walking out of game 1 saying the series is over, because let's give Jason Kidd and this coaching staff another chance to make adjustments. And I think that's the biggest question for them is, how do you make Luka's life easier on offense? Because Golden State they made it tough for Luka tonight.
The Warriors are doing similar things that the Mavericks did against Chris Paul. They picked him up full court. They made him defend. They made Luka defend. Luka didn't play great defense. And honestly, one of the things I thought was the problem with Luka was the problem with the whole team, which has been a problem with this Mavericks team in the regular season. The Mavericks missed a butt ton of threes tonight. They missed 37 threes.
Yeah.
In this game tonight. Like, lots of teams don't even take 37 threes. And if you look in just that first half, they were 7 of 29, 24% from 3, and they were getting good looks. The threes that they were getting were open at times. They were good looks, and when the Mavericks miss a ton of threes like that, it feels like, okay, if only a couple of these at halftime, if only 3 of those had gone in, like 3 of the 18 they missed at halftime would have gone in, they would have the lead, right? It's like crazy that it works that way. It's just a bounce of the ball at some points, but it got in the Mavericks' head. And the Warriors were doing a great job defending. The Mavericks were missing their threes, and it got in their head. It got in Luka's head. He got frustrated, and then you saw it in his body language. You saw it in the way that he defended, the way that he gave up on a couple of plays here and there. Was it fatigue from Game 7? Was it a hangover from Game 7? It probably added to it as well. The Mavericks only had 2 days off. The Warriors had 4 days off. The Mavericks played a tough series where they went to 7 games. So all those things just came together, and the Warriors played an incredible game, got contributions from everybody, and the Mavericks missed a ton of threes, and it got in their head just like it did in the regular season. How many times did Jason Kidd bring that up this year?
Yeah, I mean, he brought up a ton, and I mean, you talked about the missed threes in this game, and that, I mean, that's really, I mean, if you want to take away like a big story of the game outside of, obviously Luka had he struggled in this game, only had 2 points in the second half, but Luka's making all these passes, and he's getting into the paint early on, and they just missed the threes, and it's those things that I would much rather say, hey, they missed the shots instead of they're not getting the shots. And they at least got the shots tonight. Like, they shot 48 3-pointers. Sign me up for that. I'll play the percentages on it because Reggie Bullock, Dorian, Maxey just shot 49% from 3 in a series. So it's like, I'll play the percentages on it if we can get 48 threes a game, and I will bank on they're not going to miss that many open threes again. It's just, can they get that consistently with this Golden State defense? That's the question. And what's the adjustment from Jason Kidd in game 2?
The problem is they have to play the numbers game, but also still keep the same level of defense, because that's what's going to take to win this series. It's going to take that same level of defense, but maybe even a step higher than what they did. And that's how the Mavericks have to win. That's how this Mavericks team that nobody expected to be here got here. They have to take it to that next level. They have to take it to that next step defensively. And, eventually the numbers hopefully go in their direction to hit those threes, because at halftime, so it was only a 9-point game at halftime, right? Or it still felt, okay, the game.
It was like a 4 or 5 point game with like 4 or 5 minutes to go in the first half.
The game was still in tow. Like, the Mavericks had gone on a little run. They had gone on like their own kind of run.
Did you say head to toe, or?
It felt like they could still get the game. At halftime, 9-point game. The Mavericks' effective field goal percentage, which takes into account 2s and 3s and the value of those shots, Mavericks are shooting under 40% there. That's in the 3rd percentile, according to Cleaning the Glass. That's like the low of the low, like 3rd percentile, like so low. The Warriors are shooting 62.8%. That's a 92nd percentile in effective field goal percentage. It was insane, the discrepancy between the way the two teams shot, and I think that part of the reason why it got away from the Mavericks so quick and it ended up being such a bad loss in the end was the threes were missing. It was getting in the Mavericks' head, the fatigue from Game 7, and it just snowballed from there. That's not the reason they lost, but it's the reason why it snowballed so bad, and it seems like such a bad loss in this Game 1.
Yeah, let's see how game 2 is.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing. You mentioned Boston. They came out of a game 7, and they looked kind of flat. They were obviously missing Smart and Horford and those guys, but
they looked really flat. The Boston did look really flat in that game
Jason
1
Tatum
against
too.
the Heat.
They're in the second half and stuff. So let's see what that game 2 looks like. Let's see what the shots look like in game 2. Same building. They're going to practice. On Thursday in the morning, they're going to talk about their adjustments. I'm just really curious to see what those adjustments are going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, coming up, let's get into some reasons for optimism. Why should we look at this game and say anything other than the Mavs suck and there's no reason why this Mavericks team should win another game in this series? What are the reasons for optimism? We'll tell you that coming up. But before we do that, let me tell you about Sakara. It's a wellness company anchored in food as medicine on a mission to nourish your body through the power of plants. Sakara sent me a bunch of meals and snacks and different things, and I ate one of their salads, and I'm not usually a huge salad guy. You like salads?
No.
They usually leave you wanting, but this salad I thought was really good. They had incredible dressing with it. I ate it. It had, avocado in it. It was all plant-based. Had some quinoa in it, and it had this really good dressing. And I ate it, and I was like, I like that. I liked it. I felt full afterwards. I felt like I was enriching my body, and that's what you do with Sakara. Now it's time to seek wellness, joy, and abundance in all areas of your life, starting with what you eat. With Sakara, you get a nutrient-dense meals, snacks, and supplements that nourish your body without ever sacrificing taste or quality. I like it. My wife is at home eating them right now, and she said, hey, I don't usually like salads either. She hates salads even more than me, and she really liked one of the salads that she ate yesterday. True Radiance starts on your plate, made with quality organic ingredients. Sakara's plant-rich, transformational nutrition programs are expertly designed to deliver real results. So go check out Sakara. They're offering you guys 20% off your first order when they go to sakara.com/lockedon20. Enter code LOCKEDON20. That's the number 20 at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/lockedon20 to get 20% off your first order with Sakara. All right, Isaac Harris, we've been talking about how it's been bad, how Luka's been bad, and all that. What are the reasons for optimism? What made you look at this game and say, okay, the Mavericks still have a chance? What's the thing that you look at this game and say, well, it's not all hopeless?
Well, you know who's not having optimism right now, and that's our neighbors in the hotel, because they're probably hating us that we're
just screaming about this Mavericks.
Like, oh my gosh, they're really into that basketball game. Well, I thought a couple of the guys played decently well. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie shooting 45% from the field, 43% from three tonight. At one point, actually at the ending point, he was the only player that shot above 33% from three on the team, with him shooting 43% tonight. But I thought his 17 points off the bench was huge. Brunson only finished with 14. I thought he got to a lot of his spots in the mid-range.
Yep, he did.
That was smooth. He had some, moves around the basket there. I mean, and they got their open looks. So that's the thing that I'm walking out of saying, hey, if we can get the open looks again, if Dinwiddie has that same confidence and we can get 17 to 20 from Spencer Dinwiddie in a game, I'll trust that Luka's going to play better. I'll trust that Brunson's going to score a little bit more or play a little bit more efficient. And so, I mean, Brunson was 0 of 5 from 3 tonight too. So it's those type of things. Maxey got in foul trouble that threw the rotation off a little bit in the first half. Golden State was just hitting a lot of dumb shots. Like when Kevon Looney hit the
elbow jumper. Everybody's talking. Mike Leslie we were talking to him in the hallway, and he was like, when Kevon Looney hits a 20-foot jumper in your face, it's maybe not your night. And
I think that was one of the only times that Theo Pinson just sat down. He's like, all right, I think this is one of those nights.
That and the Otto Porter step back jumpers, mid-range shots. It's like, oh.
They just hit a lot of those. I mean, they finished the night shooting 56% from the field. They
had an incredible game.
It's really dang good. So some of these things I'm not surprised about. They're really good at cutting to the basket. We talked about that the other day, that they're a really good cutting team. There's some numbers that support that too from Synergy. Yep. Even to the sense of the 3-point shooting for the Mavs. We said this on the postcast. We said this before the series started. Golden State, 20th in the league in opponent 3-point attempts per game, so they give up a ton of threes, but they're third in the league in opponent 3-point percentage. So meaning that, hey, we're going to give up a ton of threes, but we're going to defend it well. We're going to close out well. So that's, that kind of was very true tonight. For the Mavs, they took a ton of threes. They didn't shoot at a high percentage. So some of this stuff, it kind of went, if you want to say according to plan, or at least you see the blueprint from it.
Went according to the Warriors plan.
But what did surprise me was it did feel like the change in all the different defenses and stuff. It did look like Luka was just a little pressing or a little frustrated a little bit tonight. He had the scratch on the face early on the game.
His shoulder seemed to be bothering him at times.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll get an update at practice tomorrow.
One of my reasons for optimism, I felt like the Mavericks defended Clay and Steph well in the first half. When the game was still in hand, I felt like they guarded them well. And then they let Clay get a layup. They let Steph get that transition layup that he got. And then those layups, just seeing the ball go in, got those guys going, and then they just started hitting their shots that you expect those guys to hit. They weren't hitting those shots in the first half. And maybe that's just them being off, but I thought the Mavericks did a decent job defending them, and they said, hey, we're going to defend those guys well, but we're going to let Andrew Wiggins beat us, right? We're going to put Andrew Wiggins one-on-one against Luka, the worst defender on the court for the Mavericks. We're going to put him on Davis at times. They were just hey, we'll help away from him, right? Yeah. We'll send help away from Andrew Wiggins at times. And they're like, hey, you beat us. And Andrew Wiggins did in the first half.
Yeah, so, that's, if you want to say, hey, will Andrew Wiggins hit 3 threes again? Will he, go 8 or 7?
It's not even that many.
I know, but will he
it's
go?
not even that many. I think it's going to be made such a big deal, and it's okay, he had a solid game. It's not like he had a team destroying. It was, it was a bunch of different other things.
But it's a good collective game from him, and I think he does deserve some credit for guarding Luka the entire game, putting up 19 points. He did better.
For sure.
He did better than I thought he would tonight.
It's just, I don't know if we're going to look back on this and say that's the Andrew Wiggins. That was the Andrew Wiggins game. Defined his career.
And this place is special with this team. With the fans, the atmosphere.
Yeah, game one is hard there.
They just have anytime you do have going full circle here back to when you have these guys that have won titles, not just been here for a long time. That's one thing. Be somewhere for a long time. Fans will love you. But they've been here for 10 years and they've won multiple titles. That there is Draymond getting hyped with the crowd when Steph went on that little miniature run there in the third quarter. That third quarter was rough for the Mavs.
Brutal.
But
just all fell apart at once.
But it's the crowd just they just ooze for those moments, and they just you can feel. You don't feel that a lot of a crowd has a relationship with a player.
Yeah.
And you can feel it with those 3 guys.
Well, and just Draymond specifically, right? Draymond, the crowd I felt like in the first half was not involved in the game at all. And then Draymond, there was a moment
half of them wasn't there.
It's true. It was half empty at the start of the game. So it was a weird tip. It was a 6 p.m. local time tip. Yeah. But Draymond blocked that 3. I think it was Spencer Dinwiddie's 3 in the corner.
Dorian's. It was nice.
Dorian's. Yeah, he blocked Dorian's 3 in that corner right by the Mavs bench, and then he just went off. I'm sure they showed it all over on TNT, but he went all over and was getting the crowd hyped. And that was the first time we really heard that crowd, and then they were in it after that.
I will say I don't understand. Dinwiddie got a tech in this game for going over to the ref and arguing, and Draymond looked like he was arguing a court case in court, and he didn't get a tech. So
he did not. No,
I understand the give and take. I understand the hey, he gets a flagrant sometimes, and some stuff gets held against him. But I think sometimes it works in his favor too, because hey, he's a super passionate player. We're not going to give him a tech. But I'm all right. If you're not going to give him a tech,
I don't know if this tells anything about the Mavericks, but I felt like the Warriors were complaining about calls more than the Mavericks were in this game.
Yeah.
Right, and they were winning.
And I'm in the camp of, hey, passionate players don't always allow for Luka. I mean, Luka could get more techs than what he does, but Draymond and stuff. I just didn't like hey, you're gonna let Draymond slide with it, but Dinwiddie, says a few things and you're teeing him up.
Well, I think Dinwiddie threw his hands like he always does. Jordan Poole got a tech because he was literally he was jumping up and down like a tantrum because a foul was called. It was pretty much a foul. But the Dinwiddie point that you made earlier, I think to make it again, he can get shots in this game. He can get shots in this. There's not a big center. That's what he struggled with. Now, when Draymond is in between him and the basket, he didn't attack at all. The Mavericks know better than to do that against him. But he can get stuff There was that play in the third quarter where he just went at Poole. And I said, he's got to do that every time.
Yeah.
Anytime he can get matched up one-on-one with Poole, he can get by him. He's bigger than him. He's stronger than him. And he can just I think he's almost quicker than him, at least going offense to defense. And I think he has to attack that matchup a lot.
They have to figure out the Looney matchup. Like, I think Looney in Golden State.
We're in a bad spot if we're like, we got to figure out Looney.
No, I say this in the sense of Looney played 28 minutes tonight. Like, if you would have told me before this game that Looney's going to play 28 minutes, I would have told you, hey, Dallas is winning by 10. Like, I would have been confident.
Because you thought that they would be able to take advantage of it.
Exactly. They got to figure that out. They got to figure out what's the best way to take advantage of that. He held his ground on some switches. They brought help a lot. You know, if Luka or somebody tried to get past them, they brought, Draymond showed a lot or hedged a lot and then went back to his guy, tried to stay home stuff. So they got to figure out a way to win that matchup.
The other thing I haven't mentioned yet was that another thing that took the Mavs out was Maxi Kleber got 3 early fouls.
Yeah.
That really took a toll because he couldn't play a lot in the first half. That means Dwight played extended minutes, and the Mavericks just, they don't play their game.
And Maxi's so important to this team.
So important.
We were sitting next to Nate Duncan and Danny LaRue, and as soon as Dwight checks out of the game, and Maxi checks in like 3 minutes into the game or 4 minutes in, they're like, "Oh, now the game starts," because we all know like that's the preferred lineup for Dallas is Maxi at that 5 spot.
I also thought, Reggie missed so many open threes. If you want to just talk about one player that missed so many open threes, I don't think he misses that many more.
Yeah.
Like the odds will even out. I thought Dorian played, besides a couple of plays here and there, I thought he played terrible, and I don't think he's going to play terrible again. Yeah,
they got to get him some more threes. He only attempted 3 threes in this game, and there were a couple, little frustration fouls and plays and stuff. Bad decision on a few shots, but I'm confident he'll have a better game.
So there you go. That's game 1. There's another game. We will be back tomorrow with the adjustments the Mavericks should make in game 2. We'll also be talking about practice. Talking about practice. We'll go to Mavs practice tomorrow. Still be in the Bay. We're back for game 2. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.